everybody. Come on in. Welcome to the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network here at Center Ice. I am Nick, and joining me here in a few minutes is Brit. It's been a couple of weeks. My apologies. Hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving. And I'm still full from all the stuff that I ate. So had a lot of leftovers too. So it was great stuff. Here we go. And beside me here is Brit. How's it going, Brit?
Good. How are you?
I am doing great. Okay.
As well as you can when your team, it looks like.
Just about. A lot's happened over the last couple of weeks, so we're going to talk about it here in just a second. But before we get started, don't forget everyone to like and subscribe, follow the MHRT Network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck Podcast go live. You can follow them on the various social media platforms of your choosing. And if you want to follow us, you can do so at the Cluster Puck Podcast on Facebook and at Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Okay, Britt, so there's a lot we got to cover, and in such a short amount of time to do it. So I guess the best way is to just kind of summarize the games before Thanksgiving and then kind of go into a little bit deeper dive of the ones from the last week. So let's start with the ones. The good news was you beat the Florida Panthers 7-4.
Yeah.
The bad news is you followed that up with an 8-2 loss against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tale of two cities. I mean, just two different teams were playing. I don't really want to get into the Tampa one very much, but that Panthers one was really a slugfest if you think about it, kind of all the way up until that third period.
It's so hard to know how to feel about this team right now. It's honestly been such a roller coaster. At 1 minute, the sky is falling, and the next minute we're back. It's hard to even remember the excitement of beating, or winning anything.
Mm-hmm. And that's the tough part too. Is you had just gotten the team back, right? You just got Nichushkin.
Yeah.
You just got not Ross Colton. Excuse me. You had Miles Wood, Jonathan Drouin. You just we're just one player short of a complete team again, right? And you're just like, great, we can go on all these winning streaks. And then stuff is now starting to fall off the rails again, right?
Yeah.
But the good news is, sorry, go ahead.
Just feels like we're right back on the injury train.
Yep. Hence the name of this title, Skating in Circles. It just seems the Avalanche can't seem to just catch the idea that you have to have a healthy team throughout the whole season in order to make the playoffs, let alone go far in the playoffs. It's just weird.
Miles Wood is month to month at this point. Is that where we're back with him?
He might as well be year to year at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
we had Drouin back for how long?
8 games, 6 games, right? Or am I like way off in my attempt of guessing how many games he's been back? Oh, I think you're muted, Britt.
There we go.
Yep, there we go.
My computer's apparently sick of hearing me whine.
Anyway, so Jonathan Drouin played about 6 games was my guess. And
very underwhelming. It's a rib injury from what I understand. Something that's not going to be worsened, but he's playing through pain. I don't know if this current outage, is that a different injury?
I don't know to this point, because again, the Avalanche are very kind of hush-hush in what's injured and what's not, because it sounds like in this one it was like, well, it could go both ways, right? A re-aggravation or a new injury, but they're not telling us what it is. But either way,
it's getting to the point where it's like almost maddening, because feels like Taves has to have something going on. I pray to God that he has something going on and he's just not playing this bad this year just because. Have we heard it? I don't think we've heard anything on Josh Manson week to week. Is that what we heard?
I think so. Yeah, he's the new one to get bit by the injury bug.
Yeah, and that's happened since our last podcast too. That's a new one?
That's a new
As
one.
even as awful as he was playing, hard loss. Sometimes still feels like Makar's got something going on. I don't know how many times he fell tonight. Uh, have we heard anything on Gabe lately? I just feel like, and then here we stand still with they just never had anything to say on Nuke. It just feels like the communication is kind of painful at this point. It's so hard to have any trust in Hope. You know what I mean? It's just hard to
Yeah.
gauge how to feel because as much as I understand and can respect their need and their protection of the players, I guess, it just feels like we are going through an emotional whirlwind. I don't know if I'm being overly dramatic on this, but it's just so hard to know how to feel from game to game when we have no idea, what we're waiting for, what's coming back, what's not coming back, what they're feeling, how they're
Yeah.
gauging this. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
frustrating.
And I think you kind of hit it spot on. As game to game, we don't know what kind of output we're going to get. I mean, kind of continuing down that list was you win in a shootout against Vegas, and Vegas,
Thrilling game.
it was amazing, right? And
It was honestly the
Valnichushkin,
most
big
excitement I
hero,
felt. Yes.
it was, it
We
really
got
was.
into that game, all I could think is if anybody has something to prove, Nuke and Georgiev better frickin' do something. And
And
they
they did.
did. And it
Georgia
felt
stopped
like,
all 5 shots in that shootout.
yeah,
Fantastic, right?
it felt
And so,
like
like,
that should be the point. How many times do I have to say this is the turning point? Like at this point, I just assume there is no turning point because I don't think we've strung together, what, 4 wins since the beginning of the year?
no. So here's the thing: is we haven't strung together for wins, but we also haven't strung together for losses. It's just kind of like win one,
But the
lose one,
losses
win
aren't
two, lose
like,
two.
yeah. And it seems like the losses, we've pinned them down on a goalie, but it's too long for us to have like been able to just blame everything on a goalie. There's just nothing feels stable. Absolutely
Yeah,
nothing feels stable at this point. We
yeah.
can't rely on anything or anyone to come through.
Because the play's inconsistent right now. It's you're
The
not
only thing
getting
we
the
can count
same.
on is that they won't be there for the first period.
There
You
you
may as
go.
well skip it.
Because they're just not giving the same output night in and night out, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
look at this, lost to Dallas 5-3. It was an okay game. Avalanche were starting to play catch up right toward the very end, but again, too little, too late. They need to have offense in that first and even
Yeah.
second period. I
It's
think now
not
it's the second
sustainable
period.
to play a whole league like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the loss 4-1 to Edmonton. You score the first goal, but then you give up 4 throughout the rest of the game. It's
It's
again
insane.
lack of 60-minute play. Um, so it just felt like this whole time. I don't know if it's mentality, if like a mental block, or
I don't know.
just
It feels like is the
inconsistent
locker
play.
room not okay? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know, and that's
it
the
doesn't
tough
it
part.
feels like at what point is it like we need to just go get EJ and JJ back because it doesn't feel like did you watch that interview the other night, the Top Titty Minnesota interview?
Have I? I don't think I have.
Just it's hysterical. I think it's
Mhm.
Jacob Middleton where his interview, he was just goofy and fun and they're just having a damn good time and it just
Well, yeah,
when
it's
you
nice
look
when
at
you're first place in the league when everyone thought you're going to be
yeah,
bottom 6.
but
Can't believe
you
that.
don't you have to be having a good time and you just got to wonder and again, I'll say this a million times, I have a child named McKinnon, but I don't think you got to wonder if there's just too much McKinnon if he's just too hard on people and too mean and angry and like you got to have some joy to and like true friendship and friendliness and trust and you know what I mean like brotherhood and
Yeah.
I just wonder if we've gotten rid of too many personalities because
Yeah.
holy crap that locker room what game was it afterwards what was the hardest loss that we had here recently
That Edmonton loss was pretty bad. I mean, the Tampa loss was even
the
worse.
Tampa game those guys looked absolutely just deflated. And
Mhm.
it's not always going to be like happy and joyous after a loss, but at this point it just the quietness in it, it feels like they don't know what to do. They don't know what to
Yeah.
say. They got nothing. Nobody's got anything. And it's not a Bednar thing. It to me, it's something. It's a locker. It's just a lot. It's a guys on the ice thing. Casey Middlestat has been so bad. So he might be the single biggest contributing factor in uh like sparking up the rest of
Sure.
the. I mean, the first line is has their own issues, but they are pulling their weight, and I think that everybody just has their own rotating, periods of deflation that we can't ever put together a single game of everybody feeling good and looking good, and then
Mhm.
when we finally come close to it, I mean, Georgie, I mean, we gotta talk about the goaltending, that's just I'm so
Well,
sick and tired of listening to it and talking about it, but it's the crutch of this team.
yeah, and so let's actually talk about it again because we
I
never get
hate it.
old
I'm
of
so
it of
sick and
talking
tired
about
of
it.
it.
We never get old of it or never get sick of it. Um, so the big news that came out from this past week was there was a trade involving Justus Annunen getting sent to Nashville in return for Scott Wedgwood. Um, it was an interesting trade, and you had posted on Twitter, Britt, that you think there is something larger at play,
I
perhaps
wondered.
looking for John Gibson, which a lot of people have clamored about.
Yeah.
Um, seeing now that he's now played a couple of games, which we'll get into the Buffalo one in just a second. Don't worry, we're very aware of that miraculous comeback. But do you think, considering he has played a couple of games now, the trust is kind of starting to have a foundation? Do you think it's realistic that Gibson is still the move, or is this an actual
Yeah,
just
I do think that he's still the move, but I don't think that Wedgwood is part of it. I think that there were a lot of mediocre goalies that they could bring in. I really kind of think that Wedgwood was the guy that they went after because I mean, if you've watched his interviews, the guy is an absolute delight. Like he is a
he is?
mood booster.
He
I
is.
think that that might be a big part of it. I could see us keeping him and attaining Gibson some other way. It genuinely breaks my heart to abandon a goalie, and I think I've been one of the longest stands for Georgiev, but we can't keep him. I think at this point he is like a toxin in the locker room. I think that there's gotta be hate and distrust and snide comments, like something is wrong between him and the rest of this team, and I am fully prepared for when he's gone at some point. It is inevitable that he will goalie us from another team,
I'm
but
sure that's exactly what'll happen.
I think he's just gotta go. I just don't think that the relationship is repairable, and, I don't think that Wedgwood is a starter, but I think Wedgwood was a nice starting place to bring somebody in with some seniority and some he
Mhm.
just seems to be a very stable,
Plenty of experience.
genuine human that
Yep.
brings yeah, and that's what from everything I've read in Dallas, he's been beloved everywhere he's gone. And I know that we've been saying this all year. That wasn't the goalie's fault. Tonight was not Wedgwood's fault. He came
Yeah,
out and he had a great game in Buffalo, but it genuinely wasn't his fault. It's unbelievable that we go out with a new goalie, someone that we clearly can trust. That after that Buffalo game, him shutting it down, and we just absolutely crap the bed in front of him. I mean, it's
yep,
just I don't know. I feel
yep.
like I keep going here and here and here,
That's
but
all right.
everything
I'll have you hold that
ugh,
thought in the Carolina game because we're gonna get into that one
but
in just
I
a
think
second.
Georgie's gotta go. I don't think that at this point that I don't think that there's any salvaging it. I still think his ceiling is unbelievably high, but this team cannot function properly in front of him. But
Mhm.
it's depressing to see them do that again in front of Wedgwood tonight because
Yeah,
sometimes I've thought that maybe a lot of it came down to distrust with Georgiev and playing stupid, trying to play goalie and defense, and we were kind of crippled by having to, put away some of our defensive offense, trying to protect Georgie, but they've played terrible in front of Georgie and now in front of a new goalie that already, something's not right in this team. And at some point it's like, when are we going to have to sacrifice like Tays or something like that to go out and bring in, I don't even know who. It's hard because all the teams that were supposed to be sellers, at one point I thought Lindgren, but Caps are going to the playoffs. Like a lot of the guys that were supposed to be, and I don't know if we talked about this, other than Gibson, Jordan Binnington might be the only option left at the end of the year for a solidified starting goaltender that can get how does that make you feel?
I'll put it this way. I would much rather have Jordan Binnington sign with Carolina because I feel like that's where he belongs. That's what I will say to that. So here's the thing. It was a very interesting move in that Justus Annunen was the heir apparent to the starting position, right? He was playing well enough in the beginning of the season, began to have some struggles, but didn't, lose his edge or anything like that. Still had a couple of really good wins as of the last couple of weeks.
I don't know.
The trade, I don't know if the intent was to light a fire under Georgiev's, what, or to just say, hey, by the way, this is our new backup, and he's going to be the new backup to some other starting goaltender.
Yeah. It kind of makes me wonder, with us trading Annunen and having to send a pick, shows me that Annunen's stock value was basically nothing around the league. Yeah. You have to assume they tried to shop him around. So we have to assume that he's been in the association for so long. Who's our guy that I can never remember his name? Our kid playing in the KHL that's apparently ripping it apart. I always want to say Mishka. Nabokov. How fast can we get him over here? Can we sabotage their playoff run and get him over here before the playoffs? Or
no kidding.
I have no idea if that's even a thing. Sounds like he's having a phenomenal year, but with us getting rid of Annunen, and having to pay to bring back what some people think is less than him, I assume that there was not interest in him throughout the league. We never had any trust in him, ever. It felt like at no point did they have any interest in declaring him the starter over Georgie for any extended period of time.
And I think that's exactly the point, is they got rid of Annunen and not Georgiev, despite all the clamoring from Avalanche fans saying, dump Georgiev. He's nothing but a nuisance, a problem, blah, 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 blah. It shows that the organization still has trust in Georgiev, and he hasn't been playing absolutely
or that they have other plans for trading.
Yeah, like his numbers have come up recently. Yes, there were losses, but again, you can't blame a loss and a win it should be a team stat, right? You should never be able to pin anything on the goaltender. Now, that being said, there have been mistakes that he's made. There are some stinkers that he's let in, not getting off scot-free. But at the same time, it's like they have shown that they're still going to exercise trust in Georgiev at least until the trade deadline, right? Because they went out and got a different backup. So,
and it's weird that we trade with the Preds, and I guess maybe that was like an Andrew Burnett thing. That
I think it might have been.
It was like, let's try to light a spark. You know what I mean? Maybe we can get. Yeah. They were hoping that maybe they could get more out of Annunen.
Nashville and Colorado were kind of in the same boat with goaltenders, right? Saros is not a bad goalie, but he's been
he's an incredible goalie,
right? And their offense has not been playing very good, so they're just kind of in the same boat. The only difference is the Avalanche, every now and again, every game or two, decide to be like, oh yeah, we're a good team again, and they'll win a game. Right. Whereas Nashville, they seem to know how to lose games, right? So I feel like this one again, win-win, because it's.
I just think that they have other plans to get rid of Georgie, and they thought maybe in the meantime we'll just get somebody a little more, because Annunen had stinkers just as. Really bad stinkers. Yeah. And so I wonder if they just wanted to bring someone stable in and see if up until they can make that Georgie trade, maybe he can find himself. Yeah. But
And
I
there
think
have
it just, a
been
lot of it was Wedgwood is such a lighthearted guy that brings a lot emotion. I think
kind
that
of a
they're
different
struggling
attitude.
emotionally in the locker
Yeah,
room.
into the locker room.
Yeah.
And there have been executives around the league that have predicted in their bold predictions for the season is that Georgiev will not finish on the Colorado Avalanche. He won't finish the season on the
No.
Avalanche, which honestly
At
does
what
not.
point do we waive him? If we
Yeah,
can't trade him,
it
we might
doesn't
have to
sound
waive him.
it doesn't sound like a far-fetched idea anymore,
No.
right? And that's the thing. Again, Wedgwood has come in and he's done really good, right? So
Right.
we'll move on from the whole trade and what does this mean scenario. And let's talk about his play actually, Wedgwood's. So Georgiev, poor guy, he just bad positioning in that Buffalo game and 4 goals in about 2 seconds. And
It felt
Buffalo's
like
up
it
and
sealed the fate because they were bad. Bad
they were
goals.
bad.
Just
They was just
really
like, I
freaking
don't know
bad.
why Georgiev repositioned himself in such a way, or that he didn't see a puck or a tip or whatever it was.
It was
He
like
just wasn't
multiple different ways to do it wrong. It was
just yeah,
unbelievable. It
he
truly
found the ways
was
to do it wrong. But this was
4
where
goals
it was
on 8 shots.
interesting was Scott Wedgwood comes in, right? First, he was only traded a couple days prior,
But
right?
poor guy didn't even
Bless you.
go to Colorado before.
Yeah, like he still had his Predators helmet, his Predators pads,
Yeah.
Predators, everything like that.
Yeah.
He goes in and he does not allow a single goal in. Now,
No.
that is
22
great.
saves?
Something around there. Yeah, like it was fantastic. Now, here's the thing. What I noticed in that game was the offense decided to play differently,
Yeah.
right? Or at least how it appeared. They had a little gaslit underneath them, very similar to what happened a couple seasons or a few seasons ago during the Cup run when I think it was against Winnipeg. They're down 3-0, right? Kemper just could not save a goal or save a shot for his life. So they put in Pavel Francouz, right?
Yeah.
I miss him very
God, what
much.
I wouldn't do to have
Oh, you're no
Pavel back.
kidding. Boy, we could have a
We took
whole
that for
3 episodes
granted.
about how much we love him. Anyways, so Pavel Francouz comes in, and all of a sudden, this team went from like super down, couldn't complete a pass, couldn't get it out of their freaking defensive zone, to then scoring 6 goals in the remaining 2 periods to win 6-3, right? What was it about Francouz that got them to spark? I don't know, but it was a very
I don't
similar
know.
situation
And
to
we seem
what
to
happened
be
last
swayed
couple
so
years ago.
hard. I mean, we won. We almost got through the second round against Dallas with Michael Hutchinson. We don't need. We should.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's something about a combination of this team, how they play in front of
how
certain
they
goalies.
like you remember how they played in front of Trent Miner, right? When he
Yeah,
went in one game. It
yeah.
is the most bizarre thing. And
It's
the Avalanche are not the
really
only
to
team.
watch sometimes.
Yeah, and the Avalanche are not the only team to have this happen. I watched
No,
Utah destroy Vegas 6-0 at Vegas
what was that?
under
It was
Jackson
so
Stauber
awesome.
in net. First ever shutout in Utah history, and Jackson Stauber was the goaltender to do that. It wasn't
That
Vamelka,
was the
it wasn't
only
Ingram,
redeeming thing about what that was the same night as our Tampa blowout, right? I
and
was like, well, at least we're not
that one would have
them.
been the same. I was that the same. I might have
It
been
was one of
actually.
one of
It
the
was one.
bad
Yeah, it was
games, and
one
I
where
was
the Avs
like,
lost.
well,
But my point is, this happens to a lot of different teams. But for the Avalanche, for some reason, it tends to happen a little more often, right?
yeah,
And it's I don't want to say it's getting annoying, but it just seems now like you can predict it when
it's
this happens.
exhausting.
It's
It's
exhausting. Yeah,
exhausting.
that's exactly right. However, the offense in this Buffalo game decided to just turn it on, and they played
Yeah.
awesome the last 2 periods to a point where, thanks to Arturi Lehkonen with about 4 minutes left, they win the game 5-4.
It was so.
Right?
Could you imagine the feeling in that arena from being up 4-0 for a team that has just done nothing but crap on their fans and have no stability and no joy and no fun, and then to have the Avs come back at at home for
Mhm.
Buffalo? Can you imagine their poor fans? Ugh.
It's outrageous just how many times this has happened, right? And it brings me to this question, Britt, which I will ask you. I guess, why can't they just play that way with their original planned goaltender, in this case, Georgiev?
I don't know.
Why is it they have to, in these situations where they're down bad by the end of the first, that they make the switch and all of a sudden the team's like, oh, yeah, by the way, we'll just go win this game. We'll just come back 4 goals in 40 minutes, 5 goals in 40 minutes, and win in regulation time. Like, what? Why, Britt?
I don't know.
Do that. And that was exactly the answer. That was exactly the answer I was hoping you'd give, because I don't know either. I don't think anyone does.
That's what really, especially tonight's game. Tonight's game is like one of the first times that I've felt really disgusted by this team. Like, I don't ever believe in like, these guys they just don't give a shit, or they're just not trying, because they are always trying. But tonight was like one of the first, just, it felt so apathetic, and it felt, I don't know. It's the only positive to come out is, thank God that Nichushkin is apparently still really good. What would we have freaking done for all the people who didn't want to sign him or wanted to? What the hell would we have done these last few games? Because he scored like a majority of our goals. I mean,
he was the saving grace in Vegas. He was the one, besides him and Lehkonen, he was the only reason the Avalanche had points. He was the only one that seemed to be trying besides Lehkonen, right? It
feels like he's the only life right now, and
it does. So let's discuss that Carolina game. So they lose the game 3-5, although 2 of those again being empty, or one of those, was it one that was an empty netter? 2 that were empty netters. I think 2. Right? They're 4th and the 5th. Let me just look. I have stats here. I don't know why I don't use that. I thought they said 5-3. Yeah, 5-3. And no, just their last one.
We were up 3-2, and then we made it 4-3.
Yeah. So
we scored one of those with an empty net, which is shocking, because I don't know why we pull the goalie anymore, because it does not seem to benefit us in any way, shape, or form.
No. So here's my breakdown of this one, though. It's a classic case of Avalanche have to play comeback and run out of time, which has been an MO
energy
for a lot of these games. Like this one,
it can't work, especially when we're having to overplay our top guys. So like we're expecting them to play harder, better, and even more after already playing too much. Stop playing like shit the first, and tonight was 2 full periods of bad hockey.
Yeah. So Lehkonen gets the breakaway goal, which was awesome. Awesome pass by Makar. Again, they're not playing bad. They're just not playing up to the standards of the rest of the teams in the league.
Tonight felt so bad. Tonight the only good thing is everyone else is playing like shit too. All the good teams, the Oilers, they're all playing like shit too, other than our division. Our division is an absolute juggernaut right now, which is absolutely insane.
It's a freaking unit, man.
It's ridiculous. Any other year, we would have been able to easily make a comeback. But at this point, we're gonna make the playoffs. But I think tonight was the most egregious of not starting the game. It felt like we didn't get there till the 3rd period, which usually we find it in the 2nd period. Don't you think? Or am I just really pissed off? And that's exactly
it. Like that's where the too little, too late quote comes from,
especially against Carolina.
Exactly. If they started it in the 2nd, there would have been a chance that would be tied going into the last 5 minutes of the game. But for that first 2 periods, it didn't feel like a team was out there. It felt like 5 individuals who happened to be wearing the same sweater, right? They were all playing good by themselves, but as a team, the passes weren't there. Checks against the boards weren't good. Scrums weren't good. Face-off, as usual.
Passing the freaking puck. Like, holy shit, and just Middlestat just like hanging on to it way too long. Like, buddy, you're not doing shit. Like, everybody just get the puck to Nuke, for God's sake.
No kidding. Give it to
And
the
it
hot
did feel the end of that third, we were finally shooting it seemed like we were putting everything on the net, but it was
look what happened,
sloppy.
Brit. Look what happens when
Wild.
you just shoot to the net. You score goals. How is that possible?
Let it be sloppy.
Brain explode. That's what the Avalanche need to do. They have the offensive firepower. Kovalenko's scoring. Ivan is scoring. Parker Kelly's probably going to get a hat trick next week because of spite, I'm sure. They have.
Dude, I don't know. That guy is so angry. I love Parker Kelly. I don't know. I just have to throw that out there. He is just an angry dude. Like, and I don't.
But like Lekkonen's been scoring. Nichushkin, McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar. Like all your normals are scoring. It's just not at a consistent rate, and it's not at a point where you are starting the game strong enough. You have to play.
And holy mother of God, the power play. We are back to. Hi, we'll just decline the power play, please.
Might as well. Because all you're going to do
actively harming our team.
Yeah, all you're going to do is skate around the perimeter, pass, wait for a lane, pass, and I think there was a couple power plays where they 0 shots, and I couldn't
a
because
5-on-3
because you're in the zone for a good minute. Like you should have had like 3 shots at least.
I know. There were so many instances, including on the 5-on-3, that Taze and Makar just receiving the pass on the blue line. I don't understand. And then Makar blew a tire. There was one point where like it felt like within 1 to 2 shifts, maybe 3 times, like that one where he blew it on that breakaway. Blew it on the blue line as he was like kind of regrouping. I don't know if he had something weird with his skate for a while there. And Taze has looked so, and I know that Bednar said something like he hasn't felt healthy all season. He's at about 80%, but what does that mean? Like, does he have a lingering pneumonia, like bronchitis? Like, I just don't understand it. What was it the injury that still,
I don't know. As
somebody who is completely engulfed in Avalanche 24/7, I can usually find someone who has a good inkling of what injuries are, but like I have no idea don't know to what extent was injured.
He have the surgery in the offseason, or maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. But
I don't know.
Had something done to him, or he decided not to fix something. Maybe that's what it was. I can't remember. But at the same time,
at this point, just go do it, bro. Like,
might as well just join Landeskog and miss 3 seasons. But again, this game was just kind of like,
disappointing that. He was kind of our like secret weapon. That was the Robin Hood, to Makar's. To unleashing Makar, and it's just they've just felt like so little chemistry and so little, just that magic seems to not be there right now.
Yeah. Now that being said, Brit, I'm gonna switch my tone a little bit here.
I'm so down right now. I'm down and
I'm gonna switch tones. Don't worry. So with all this being said, yes, we're disappointed and kind of the lack of streaks, I think ultimately is the idea. Right. However, the Avalanche, it doesn't mean they're out of the playoffs, right? Right now they're tied.
No, they're just
spot, right? They're still going to make it. They just need
to me, even at our worst, we're always going to be there.
Exactly. Right. Now, here's the thing.
We expect more out of them.
Right. Here's the thing, though. It's a little skiwampus in this wild card spot currently. You can throw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in a 6-point blanket, which again, that's about 3 games. And if they play each other, there's a different spread altogether. Calgary, Edmonton, Colorado, Seattle, St. Louis, San Jose, and Utah.
So, dude,
those all are kind of just all vying for that spot right now.
There is, there was a this is such a weird league right now. Did the Blackhawks win tonight? Because it was something like if the Blackhawks won and Toronto, and Bruins
Blackhawks
lost,
lost
the
yesterday.
Blackhawks were knocking out the Bruins from the like, this is a crazy world. But
Yeah.
the thing
In
is with the
fact,
Central, do we care that much who we play in the playoffs at this point with
at
how
this point,
just
no, just because of how. In fact, if anything, I'd feel like you'd want to have a wild card spot to face a Pacific
yeah,
Division team, don't you think?
exactly. I would much rather play Pacific than
Like Vegas, LA,
I
Vancouver.
wouldn't
It
be
doesn't
able
scare me.
to yeah. I don't think I would spend a single day not in agony if
Uh-huh.
we were knocked out by the Wild. Ugh,
No
it's
kidding.
they're gonna
But,
come back to earth. They're
exactly.
not
My
who they're
point
acting
though,
like they are.
is this. Colorado is not out of it. It's not time to pack
No,
it up. Like they're
no.
going to be in it all the way up until the very end. But the thing
I
is,
just said
right
I don't
now,
wanna get knocked out in the second round. This is where we're figuring out how
mhm,
do we get past the second round. You know what I mean?
right
And it's just
now, exactly. And Winnipeg is now starting to show their colors, right? They've lost
oh,
a good
yeah.
chunk in the last couple of
They
weeks.
are
Right?
3-7 for the last 10
I
out
think that's
of
exactly it, right?
yeah.
Edmonton, they're showing signs of struggling.
Their
Seattle,
goalie
I don't know if
is
theirs is going to
we sure
last.
are we're so hard on Georgiev. Skinner might be almost as up and down as Georgiev. They
Yeah.
just haven't been as loud this year about it.
Yeah, and he was kind of the same last season. The
Mhm.
only difference is
And
that
then he
everyone was
killed it
talking
in
about
playoffs.
it because they made it to the playoffs and
Yeah.
almost single-handedly, in
They
some
got
cases,
their shit
carried them
together. Yeah.
into the Stanley Cup Finals. So
Which if
again,
we hadn't had the nuke breakdown, it's hard to wonder if Georgiev could have carried us through to the
it's
finals.
totally possible.
And you gotta wonder how that would have changed their relationship with
Yeah.
him. Everybody has forgotten the Winnipeg series and what he did entirely and how
Yeah.
good he was. You gotta wonder what that would have done if we could have just gone a little bit farther with him for the like
Mhm.
solidifying a positive relationship and mentality around him.
Yeah. So again, I'm not near the panic button, right? I'm not even
No,
thinking about hitting it. It's just frustrating in this current time because you're ridden with injuries, your play isn't consistent.
on the
There's a
plus
lot of
side, Ross Colton is on this trip. So he is
yes,
such a huge
he's a big
positivity in the
part
locker room and on
on
the
the
ice
ice.
factor.
Yeah.
He
So
was
again, there's a lot to still be okay with. You still have an over 500 record, barely. But the good
yeah,
news is you're not going on these massive losing streaks.
it's
It's been
not
two hacks
no,
for the
and
last
it's
few
not
weeks.
fire Bednar. We're not firing McFarland. Like
No,
people need to shut up
it's
about
just
that.
a game of the players on the ice. The team just needs to play a more cohesive game. If they do that, you've seen what happens, right? They blow the
Yeah.
doors off of these teams, right? And we know they're capable of it despite the
And it's
injury.
not like we're only beating shitty teams. Like that's what's weird is we're not
No.
just
Like
feasting
you
when
just
it
beat
doesn't
Vegas
matter.
in one of the most complete games in recent time. They
It
beat
was.
Vegas
That was such a
out, but it was
yeah,
defensively amazing, right? And
yeah,
that's exactly what you needed, right? Because that made Georgiev play with a confidence that you would not believe. Like it was last
yeah.
year's round, right? So
You
again,
just gotta wonder if getting him out of that locker room will set everything in a new motion of
it
just
could.
they just need a clean breakup. Just for the sake of everybody shaking it off and getting the vibes right. It's like they might be trying to, fake it and mend the relationship a little bit. And then he has one of
Yeah.
those games and it goes right back. And it's really hard to not talk shit to and about your goalie when they are as bad. Georgiev is
Mhm.
really, really bad. And it takes like my whole entire heart to like I don't know, it hurts
Yeah.
to think that about a goalie, but he really is really bad. And I'm the
At
last
least
person
at
that
least
will
this
ever
at
jump
least this
off
season
the
he is.
ship.
But
Yeah,
I'm still with you where it's like again, I don't think Georgiev is the future,
no,
unfortunately. But
no.
But
I
you
think
have
it's
to give
just,
them
and they
credit.
might just be fielding it until they figure out who's going to fall off
Yeah.
and actually be sellers. You know, some of these teams, the caps might still fall off. We don't know
Yeah.
who's, gonna end up selling at the deadline. We might
But
just
you
need to
have
push
but
through it till then,
you
and
have to
we'll see
do
how much money we have.
yeah, and again, I will call a spade in this case. Last season and the season before, he was good. You look at
I
that
know.
stat line, he
Trust me,
played
it
great.
took me up until the Buffalo game to think this is beyond his ability. It's I think it's just a relationship thing that
Yeah,
he's not capable of playing well for the Avalanche for an extended period of time because something isn't right. Something is not
yeah,
his ceiling is just I think it's just as good as Shesterkin's, but mentally he's going to go somewhere else and he's probably going to kick the Avs ass at some point because remember
that's
that
probably
first game that he played
gonna happen.
against the Rangers
Oh, yeah.
when he
Oh,
came to
yeah.
us? Yeah. Yeah, he's going to
So,
kick our ass at some point.
but either way, again, it's kind of all in flux at this point. Maybe when they get a full and complete team, chemistry
I know.
happens. We don't know what the future holds, but again, there's a lot still to be clinging on to as far as positive things go. The Avalanche are still they're fine.
We
It's
need
just
Middleset to get it back together. He
it
was
just
having
exactly
Middleset
a
and
couple of
Ross perform were kind of the transformative parts of the season, don't you think, so far this year when they were turning it on?
it's just a couple of individual performances and the
Yeah.
cohesive, right? If that gets together, again, I have zero to complain about, right?
And they're going to get it back together. So
And
it's
they will.
inevitable. It's
Exactly.
just not very fun to watch.
It's just annoying when it's not on your time
Yeah.
schedule and they're on a different one,
Yeah.
Anyways, that being said, we do have three excuse me, we do have three upcoming games to finish this 5-game road trip. So Saturday, you play the Detroit Red Wings, 5 o'clock Mountain Time puck drop. Big kicker here is they defensively are hurting a little bit, right?
Kane just went on IR too. Kane is
Exactly. Right.
outie.
So they have, let's see, they're on a 3-game losing streak, maybe
They
more,
are
or 4-game losing streak.
absolutely in despair this year. I think that their GM, he's gonna have what's his face? I always mix the Toronto one and the Detroit one. Shanahan?
Eiserman?
Yzerman, yeah, Yzerman. The
Yep.
Yzer plan is, I think
Hasn't been
it's,
working
I
for
mean,
a good long time.
the Avs have got to feast on this game. And I don't believe in
This is
gimmies,
the
but
time
they need to take this game and make it a freaking gimme because if there was anyone that you're going to be able to beat up on, this is one of them. And even without the rivalry, it's never going to feel not extra good to beat the Red
Oh,
Wings.
yeah.
So they need
Oh,
to
yeah.
freaking win this game.
And again, so that's my key to the game is that defensive, exploitation,
Yeah.
goaltending. Reimer, maybe, and that's again, is that your dude that you're going to rely on? So,
I would.
I mean, maybe, right?
Who's
Because the
their
other
other
option,
goalie? They have Husa, don't they? Hossa.
they had Ville Husso.
Oh, do they not
But
have him anymore?
well, I think they sent him down, didn't they? No, they still have him. Just kidding. He actually just
Oh
played in
yeah,
that
Michael. My husband went to the Bruins Red Wings game. Yeah,
Oh, fun.
which damn, can we get? I mean, is it worth picking up Huso and making him a very, very? I mean, or do you think that
Well,
his
again,
ceiling is
he
just not what
was
everybody
one
thought
of
it
the
was?
goalies that I originally wanted a couple years ago.
Same. Yeah.
But now it's like, geez, he's been scratched. He was sent down for a little bit, but it looks like he is back up. But again, you look at this Detroit team. I mean, they traded away Olimata. He's in Utah. Now he's on the Finnish national team because he's doing great in Utah. So Detroit's just not there defensively.
I know. And this was supposed to be their this was kind of supposed to be the come out year. Like they sped it up. They gave JT Comfort $1 bajillion. Like it was supposed to be the year.
Yeah. So I just think just continue that losing streak, send it to 5 for them, and get out of there with a good win. This would be a great time for that team cohesiveness.
Find some fluidity, within the game.
Hustle, some urgency. We always say that, play with urgency. Go out and
Just
score
vibe with
the
each
first
other a little
2
bit
goals,
and do the things that you're practicing.
Do something out of routine in that maybe score the first 2 goals. Maybe don't let them get a goal within the first 5 minutes of the game,
Figure out
just
the frickin' power play.
power
For
play. Yeah.
God's sake.
So that's my key to the game for Detroit. The next game,
It shouldn't be that hard. That's all that
no,
there is to it. It
no.
shouldn't require that much.
The next game is going to be your tough one, and that's against the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah.
That one's going to be so it's a back-to-back, right? So Saturday was Detroit, Sunday will be the Devils, 5 p.m. Mountain Time puck drop. This one is going to be your real test to see if you do end up winning, if cohesiveness can reign out, because right now the Devils are playing like a really well-oiled machine, right? So it's
that's so many games in the 5-day span there, starting on Saturday, and that's so far of traveling.
So because right now Markstrom playing awesome, even Jake Allen's playing good. What a weird combo.
Can we get Jake Allen too? God, just give us one of them. I'm surprised that they held on to him, but I don't think that they had to give up much for him, did they?
I don't think so. So my key to the game in this case is going to be matching intensity, because New Jersey plays with
young
intensity.
And fun, and Keith does not let them.
Chemistry is there. I mean, and you get to see Chris Kermit again, right? And that'll be fun.
And they needed a goalie so bad. So having a goalie performing for them has really.
Well, now they have
done
2.
well for this team.
Jake Allen is no slouch himself this season. Yeah. So right now it's
they've been on the cusp for so long, only lacking a goalie. So they have no excuse left to not perform. And I think that they know that. And the Hughes boys are incredible and wonderful. I love them. So
they are fun.
It's hard not to.
They are fun to watch. We went last April? Yeah, we went to a Devils game. Out there in New Jersey, and they were playing the Sabres, and they were wearing their black jerseys.
Oh, it's my favorite.
And that team was just so much fun to watch, like that, and the stadium was just it felt like an underground punk band kind of place, like a little gig.
I've never been.
It was a lot of fun. Like if you get the chance, if you're ever in New York City, go to a game. The atmosphere is so much fun. But that team just plays really well together, despite last season's kind of rocky, didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
This year they're right back on that horse from a couple seasons ago. Again, match the intensity, match the urgency, because if you're caught lacking, they will make you fall flat on your face.
They've got it on both ends. They've got a lot. They're not too top heavy or defensive heavy. They really should test the Avalanche in a whole lot of different ways, and be nice to. They're still beatable though, but we'll see if we get goalied.
Yep.
I mean, we just seem to do that.
We do. Okay, and then the last game in this for this week, and then for the 5-game road trip is at the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, this is where I'm going to thank the Utah Hockey Club that just beat the doors off of them when they were in Pittsburgh. My key to the game is to do exactly what Utah did, and that is shoot the puck at any chance you have.
Poor Jari. Buddy.
Jari, I think who else? Nedeljkovic.
Which Nedeljkovic has kicked our ass before, though. Oh my god.
He has. Oh. But that key was just fire stuff, and that's exactly what Utah did. Was they just shot and shot and shot,
and
6 of them went in, right? And then it made them fired defensively. So that kind of is able to take one thing, turn it into a second one or good thing.
We need the Penguins to keep getting their asses kicked. Have you heard? Dallas is having. If Malkin goes, then. Malkin went to Dallas. Crosby's not going to stay on the Penguins if Malkin's gone. Do you think? Could that be the driving factor?
Brit, I will just once. I will play your game, and I will agree with you that if
it sucks that Dallas might have that much money.
That does suck. But if that core does break up, I do think that Crosby will make his way to Denver.
or somewhere.
I still think it's a
would you
far-fetched
want Malkin
idea.
for as expensive as he is?
Maybe Dallas
I don't
does.
think Malkin is anywhere near as desirable as like I don't. I think there's a lot better options than Malkin out there. I think Malkin is aging
So
much faster than
I will add a clarifier though, and that is if Pittsburgh decides to move on from Crosby, because Crosby will play loyal. I'm just going to let you know that. But
yeah, I think if
does
one
happen,
goes, the other will bounce.
Yep. Again, I think it all depends on what the front office does. If they decide to just dismantle it, then yes. But back to my side of this argument, Britt. Crosby is loyal to the soil when it comes to Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree.
It's not going to be on his terms. It's going to be on Pittsburgh's. He'll be susceptible to them. But one can dream, right, Britt?
But we just got to keep kicking their ass until Malkin's ready to go.
Keep hoping they lose.
Yeah.
Anyway,
man, they have been getting their asses kicked.
They have.
So mad.
Their goaltending tandem has been a lot more.
I know.
Terrible,
right? For a while, I was just like, well, why don't we just inquire and grab Jari along with Crosby and we can fix Jari? But now it's like, I don't think there's any fixing Jari.
Yeah, I agree. So that's my key to the game for the Pittsburgh game is to just shoot at any opportunity you have, because at some point, whether if it's a scramble in front of the crease,
right, it doesn't have to be scoring on the first shot.
It doesn't have to be beautiful either, right? Just get it there, and it finds a way of making it back into the back of their net. So I've seen. That being said, yes. That being said, I think that'll take us all the way to the end of the episode. We've covered the games that have passed. We vented. I hope everyone feels better from venting. I certainly
it's hard. I wish that with us recording on Thursdays, it's hard. It's hard that if we do it after a game, because I would have much rather done this tomorrow. Because I honestly didn't even want to. When I'm like feeling disgust, I don't want to talk about my team like that. I don't want to verbalize it.
But
because generally the next day I'll feel different the next day.
It's us in our Rost form.
Oh, so it keeps us in check that we can't really do it Friday, so that we just have to talk it out the night of.
Yeah, there you go. And guess what? It's all fresh, and you kind of do get to unpack it all right then and there, which I think is quite helpful. But that being said, again, this week, it's a new week. We don't know what the future holds ultimately. We can guess, but ultimately, it's up to them. Right?
This team is too good to at some point to not freaking figure it out. I just want them to figure it out sooner so that we can go in with some momentum before the.
Just a nice win streak of 5 or 6.
About 4 Avs named to the 4 Nations.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I didn't even.
Makar and Taves. Well, actually, yeah, Makar and Taves.
Finny boys.
No, 5. Sorry, 5. So Makar and Taves, Mikko, Lecky, and McKinnon have all been named.
Oh, man. I don't know why it was Mikko, Lecky, McKinnon, Makar. Oh, yeah. I don't know why that was. I was saying, do we have 6?
Yeah, see,
I really hope that Taves ends up injured and doesn't go, but I feel like he has to go because I don't know that many people necessarily would have picked him first, but I think it's kind of like Makar and Taves are, they're too good together to not. But
yeah,
as excited as I am and as proud as I am, and I'm so excited to cheer for different people I don't usually get to. It's going to be so hard to not cheer for literally 4 of my 4 favorite players in the NHL that have to be Canadian. But it's going to be fun to see different people play together. That my only thing that sucks is I can't cheer for Eichel no matter who he plays. I will. He's the only player that I cannot find anything endearing about.
That was going to be my question, though, is who do you want to see win the whole 4 nations?
America. United States.
That's
That
a
was my
safe
redneck.
answer. That's a safe
No, they
answer, but
need
what
to.
does your heart tell you?
No, for sure, I do. I love Kachuk, and I love the Kachucks, and I love the Hughes, and I have this weird little, like, creeping thought that you have to wonder with, some of the guys like Larkin and Kachuk, Brady, and some of these guys that are the dude playing for shitty teams that are the one all-star that's carrying, are they gonna taste like a chance of playing with other all-stars and seeing some like true competitiveness and go get me not even, you know what I mean? Especially Kachuk is my big one. Is he gonna say I can't do this? And or Dylan Larkin? I mean, I think Dylan Larkin is morally stuck in Detroit, but
kinda.
you gotta wonder between watching his brother win. You can't not want United States to win.
Oh no, and I do. I still want, like, obviously, again, like I said, loyal to the soil. However, I wouldn't be upset if Finland pulled this one off.
No, it's they're an interesting makeup of dudes.
Just because of Rantanen and Lehkonen,
yeah.
First of all, but Utah's
and I think they could.
Valimaki and Olli Mata are also on the team. It's kind of a double dip, right? Now, who do I ultimately think is going to win? Looking at the rosters, just based off the rosters,
America.
It's Canada.
Are you serious? Have you seen
the rosters? Based off of roster alone, Canada is way more stacked, right?
We're gonna have to throw down a little bet on this.
But
I just think goaltending.
Goaltending.
The
U.S. has the upper hand. I would agree.
And I just don't.
That firepower.
How do you feel about them not adding Bedard? Do you think he should have been on there?
I'm upset by it, honestly. He's still young. He's got time.
My only thing is that I've been kind of going back and forth on is he is the future of Canadian, like, Olympic. Like, if they're going to regularly play in the Olympics. So you got to wonder if now would have been a good time for him to share that experience with, like, Crosby and the big boys, if it would have been a positive factor for him, and to just get him the hell out of Chicago and feeling good again. But I don't know, because he's not having a great year. He's not having a good time.
Yeah, I think, did my camera just? Yeah, what is this? Where'd my camera go?
That's
there we go. I must have hit a button.
I want to know who I am when I shut mine off.
I don't recall doing that. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, and if Canada does end up winning, you have 3 Avalanche players that'll be
exactly. That's what's kind of fun is there's a little bit of joy in it, no matter what. I just wish that Taves was I wish that they could rest because it's a long. They get 2 whole weeks off. So these bums, but I don't think it's a ton of games, and I think that it's hard to know if they're going to come out playing balls to the absolute wall because it's literally the most competitive dudes that are in the sport, or if it's going to be kind of an unspoken, no super dirty stuff because that's like all of our
could ruin the season.
All of our superstars that we want to see on the ice, like, you know what I mean? And hopefully there's a bit of unspoken respect there.
We'll talk about it as time gets closer to the thing. We'll go into a
deeper Is there dive. A team with more players than the Avs?
Dallas?
Yeah, they might be. There was a couple
they have like
ones.
3 Finnish, a couple are Swedish, and
a lot of it is because we're so Finn heavy. We're a very Finn heavy team.
Very Finnish.
We don't have a single American. The Avs don't.
Do we? They don't?
The Avs don't have an American on the team.
I thought Josh Manson was from Chicago.
No, just in the 4 nations. Like you would have thought sending 5 people, but no. We just we're the Finn cherry pickers.
Us, Dallas, and Utah are like Team Finn, man. Like it's great.
And the Finns, it'll be really. They're scrappy, and there's a lot of really good Finnish players right now, and it's it's a very distinct breed of like a hot style of hockey. So I I would not be shocked if they scrapped their way through to the end. I genuinely
Yeah.
could see that kind of upset.
Yeah. But yeah, ultimately, again, U.S.
Yeah.
Obviously, I am a little miffed, just a little, that
Mhm.
they decided to put in Vincent Trocheck instead of Clayton Keller. But that's a home.
That is
bias.
the
That's a home
Trocheck
bias.
to me was the wild, and
But
it's not even like
you
a
know what?
anti-Rangers thing. That was a
But
wild
you know
choice.
what? It is what it is, and we'll just have to see why in the near future.
Yeah.
But as
Yeah.
far as tonight, there's 3 games on the line, and they know what to do.
I
So
know.
we'll
We just got to live through the next 2 weeks, really. We'll see if
Yep.
our Avs are even alive by then.
Make it to Christmas and the New Year, and then I think
Yeah.
everything will be over, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, all righty then. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of the Cluster Puck Podcast. We enjoy everyone's participation and viewership. It is always greatly appreciated. We encourage you to tell your family and friends. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow the MHRT network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck Podcast go live. You can follow the MHRT network on the various social media platforms of your choosing. And if you want to follow us, you can do so at the Cluster Puck Podcast on Facebook and at Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. With that being said, let's hope for a little early Christmas gift. 3 wins. Does that sound good? Is that too much to ask for? I don't think so.
No.
So let's see if we can go 3-0 for the next week and have nothing but good things to talk about during the beginning of this Christmas season. So with that being said, we hope you guys have an awesome weekend. Go watch some Avalanche games. Always be happy because you have a team to cheer for. And we'll see how it goes. And as always, go Avs, go.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.